Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am a adrenal fatigue recovery ninja, and today I want to talk to you about Hashimoto's and adrenal problems. And specifically I want to talk to you about a patient who came into my office, and I want to go over the specifics of what she was dealing with. She started with me in early January of 2015, 46-year-old mother of two, and she had prior been diagnosed with a hypothyroid 3 years prior to seeing me. She was taking 75 micrograms of Thryroid, but her main symptoms were she was fatigued, she was brain foggy, she had emotional issues, she couldn't sleep, she had difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep. Both were problems. She was exhausted all the time. She's always cold, difficulty with weight loss, and she had other immune problems that she told me about growing up as a child, constantly being sick. And so we put her on a gut repair protocol, and we did a couple of other tests. So let's explain some of these testing. First of all, what you should always have a doctor do is review your prior blood work, because there's a lot of information on there that's really, really important that no one has really ever explained to her or your patient or to you. And this happened in her case. In fact, she was autoimmune and she didn't even know it, and she had the blood work to show her that she was. And so she came in and her blood work showed that she had antibodies of 1800 value, and it shouldn't be above 34. And her antibodies for her TPO was 1800, and her thyroid binding globulin was about 1300, and that 1300 shouldn't be above 1. And so she is just extremely, extremely immune reactive against her thyroid, and no one has ever told her. And they actually told her that she should go on antidepressants because she's depressed. Her TSH values were the only thing that they looked at. And so first of all, she was told nothing was wrong except that she was maybe a little hypothyroid and that she had some she needs to be on antidepressants. And so what we did is, the first thing we did was we did a food sensitivity test, because when we have gut breakdown or we have immune problems, 80% of our immune system is in our gut. And if your gut is breaking down and inflamed, then potentially there's a high likelihood that you have intestinal permeability and you're going to be reacting to certain foods. In her case, she was reacting to sesame, to buckwheat, to sorghum, to teff, and to corn. And so what are these foods? These foods are the gluten cross-reactive or very, very foods that are gluten-like. So if you get off of gluten, you go to the grocery store and you get on a gluten-free bread or gluten-free crackers or gluten-free this or gluten-free that, chances are they're going to have these cross-reactive grains, which means they're very likely that if you have intestinal permeability and you're still eating these non-gluten foods, your body is still reacting. And in her case, they are. And she didn't know it, and this is causing a huge problem for her. We also did her thyroid, her adrenal test, because potentially when you have an autoimmune patient and they have a lot of inflammation and their antibodies are going haywire and there's immune dysregulation, your adrenal glands are going to be crashing. And why is that? Because your adrenal glands has to settle the inflammation in your body, and if you have tons and tons of inflammation, you have to settle the inflammation. She also had some faulty blood sugar issues, and she had food sensitivities, and she has low-grade infections, and no one's telling her that A, she has an immune problem, and B, she's got a hormone problem, and C, specifically, she's got an adrenal problem. And so in her case, her total cortisol output was 20.5, and it should be 23 to 42. So she's at the low end there. She's below the low end. She's not bouncing out of bed. She crashes in the middle of the day, and she's got very little energy throughout the entire day. So we put her on a repair protocol, and we saw that she is now at 27, and that was after 3 months. So she went from a 20 to a 27. She's still in the low range, but get this, her antibodies, they went from over 1800 to 273. So they dropped from 1800 to 273. I mean, that is amazing. However, she's still left with some concerns. We looked at her red blood cells, her white blood cells, and her white blood cells were functionally low as well as her platelets were low. So we know there is some low-grade infection. So the next thing we did was we did some genetic testing. If you go to 23andMe, you can do some genetic testing, and that's what we did for her. And let's go over those results. So we did some genetic testing with her, and that's what I have right behind me, and this is what I want to explain to you. She had a couple of genetic variants. So she had something called the MTHFR and the MTR. And basically what that means is we need to have methyl groups in order to have things happen in your body. So CH3 is a methyl group, and when we have inflammation, low-grade infections, heavy metal toxicity, uncontrollable blood sugars, stress, all of the things that were draining her adrenal glands, those are also going to drain her methyl groups. And when we drain our methyl groups, we are not going to be able to perform over 250 cellular activities in the body. And so we need to detoxify, we need to fight off infections, we need to clear hormones, we need to make neurotransmitters. So basically we need to break things down and we need to build them up. And enzymes are the things that do that. They break things down and they build things up. And if your enzymes are not functioning optimally, meaning they're either functioning too quickly or functioning not enough, it's kind of like a gear in the watch. And this gear here, and this gear here, and this gear here, they're all related. So if you're lacking an enzyme that is turning the gear around, it's going to impact the other enzymes and other substrates. So it's a little bit difficult to understand, but realize that the same reasons that you have inflammation in your body is the same reasons that are going to impact your methylation and your ability to produce energy. It's also going to affect your ability to detoxify, to fight off infection, to settle down inflammation, to produce hormones, and cortisol is a hormone. So that's the connection. So in her case, we likened it to an assembly line worker. She has a couple of genetic variants, and so with the MTHFR, she has a heterozygous finding, which means she inherited a gene from a father or a mother, but not from both, and now her gene functions at 10% less efficiency. So that means, imagine an assembly line, you have someone that's at their workstation 90% of the time, and 10% of the time they're not there, it's going to slow down production. However, you can also have a workstation that is there 100% of the time, meaning you don't have any gene deficiencies, but you may have a power outlet problem and you can't use the drill bit to make the end product. What does that mean? It means that you can have normal functioning genes, no deficiencies or polymorphisms or mutations, but you have oxidative stress, you have heavy metals, you have blood sugar dysregulation, you have insulin resistance, you have inflammation from a toxin, environmental pollutant, and that's going to express the same problem in that it's not going to allow you to make energy. So, and that's very, very important. In her case, we were putting her on some nutritional support that's going to help her clear those cycles a little bit more efficiently, and she is really, really getting better. In fact, I made a testimonial of her, and she's really happy, but suffice to say, someone told her that nothing was wrong, that she was crazy. They never told her that she had an autoimmunity, and she was in the 1800s. And she was only put on Thryroid. No one ever talked about her adrenals, nor talked about her food sensitivities, nor talked about her immune problems with her platelets and her white blood cells being low, and no one ever talked to her about the relationship of her genetic predisposition. She said her dad had Crohn's. So hopefully a little bit of light bulbs are going off in your head and you're saying, yeah, I need to do that, or geez, my doctor never told me anything about that. And you do something about that. And that's what functional medicine can do for patients that are suffering with adrenal gland problems. It's more than an adrenal gland problem, and it's not going to be just take this pill or that pill and everything's going to be fixed. Hopefully you enjoyed another edition of your Adrenal Fix. If you liked what I had to say, please give me a thumbs up, a share, or a like. And be sure to check out my blog at adrenalfatiguesociety.com. And I look forward to helping you in your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Thank you so much.